Hello to all my excellent students. So today we are going to start with the lecture number 3 of the chapter Ecosystem. Today we are going to actually study about the ecological pyramids as well as we are going to cover the concept of succession. So what are we waiting for? Let's directly start our today's class. So beta, in our last class I have taught you about the different types of functions of ecosystem including decomposition and energy flow. I hope all that concept is clear in each and everyone's mind. The type of food chain, detritus food chain, grazing food chain and etc. So today we are going to start with the ecological pyramids. Ecological pyramid, the concept was given by scientist Alton, which explains basically the graphical representation of different ecological parameters like number, energy and biomass. So first we'll start with ecological pyramid of energy. So let's write it. Concept was given by Alton. Pyramids are basically the graphical representation of different ecological parameters. Right? So ecological pyramid stands for graphical representation of different ecological parameters like energy, biomass and number. First, we are going to talk about the pyramid of energy, which is always upright. Upright means beta, the pyramid is going to be having a broader base and a narrower apex. So each level represents different trophic level. So this is the first trophic level, second trophic level, third, fourth and fifth. Now you know, as we go higher in the food chain from first trophic level to last trophic level, the amount of energy keeps on decreasing by the amount of energy keeps on decreasing by 10%. Yesterday we have discussed, in our last class we have discussed about the 10% law, which explains that from one trophic level, if the energy passes to second trophic level, then 90% of energy will be wasted in the form of heat and only 10% of the total stored energy will be transferred to the second trophic level. That means as the trophic level increases, the amount of energy received keeps on decreasing. Hence, you can say the topmost trophic level will be narrower and the bottommost, the first trophic level will be broader. As a result, the shape of the pyramid will always come straight upright. It can never be inverted or of any other shape because flow of energy is unidirectional and it follows 10% law. Right? Shall we write this point? Okay. So according to this pyramid of energy, since energy flows unidirectionally from producer to consumer, from first trophic level to another trophic level, energy flows unidirectionally and follows 10% law. Therefore, pyramid of energy will always be upright. Pyramid of energy will always be upright. Yes or no? Understood everyone? Okay. Now, second pyramid is of pyramid of biomass. Beta, basically biomass stands for total amount of biomass, means living matter generated by different organism occupying different trophic level. There's one terminology used called standing crop. Standing crop means the total amount of living matter, biomass present at each trophic level. Now, usually the pyramid of biomass is also upright. That means the amount of biomass generated at first trophic level will be always more than the amount of biomass generated at the second trophic level. However, it can also be inverted like in case of pond ecosystem. In case of pond ecosystem, the biomass generated by phytoplanktons is lesser than the biomass produced by zooplanktons. So shall we write this information? First of all, what is biomass, beta? It is one of the ecological parameter that stands for total living matter present at every trophic level. So basically, what is biomass? Total amount of living matter. So biomass is simply the total amount of living matter present at each trophic level. There is one more terminology used for this is standing crop. Now what is the standing crop? The standing crop means total amount of biomass present in different organisms occupying different trophic level. So total amount of biomass produced at each trophic level. Now, usually the pyramid of biomass is upright, like for example, for grassland ecosystem and for other ecosystems, it is usually upright. That means the broad is going to be the base and apex is going to become the narrow. So it is usually upright, but exceptions prevail. But if I talk about pond ecosystem, then yes, pond ecosystem pyramid of biomass is inverted. Inverted means the amount of biomass generated by phytoplankton is lesser than the amount of biomass produced by zooplankton. So you have to remember this information, very, very important. NCERT has directly mentioned it and questions related to it will come directly, that which ecosystem will show inverted pyramid of biomass. Then you should know it is actually pond ecosystem. Otherwise, other ecosystem like tree ecosystem or grassland ecosystem, their pyramid of biomass will be upright like that of pyramid of energy, right? Now, the third parameter is pyramid of number, right? Now, pyramid of number stands for total number of organisms occupying the specific trophic level. So, pyramid of number means it is with respect to total number of individuals present at each trophic level. So total number of individuals present at each trophic level is known as pyramid of number. Again, usually it is upright. For pond ecosystem, pyramid of number will be upright. That means more number of phytoplanktons are getting feeded by lesser number of zooplanktons. But if I talk about tree ecosystem, so again you will write usually upright, like for example in case of pond ecosystem. So remember, pond ecosystem ka pyramid of biomass is inverted, otherwise pyramid of energy and pyramid of number both for pond ecosystem are upright. Exception are there. An exception is tree ecosystem. You know, in tree ecosystem, the first trophic level is occupied by tree. And on one tree, so many birds can feed on, and on different birds, so many parasites can again live and feed on. So you can say if there is one tree, on that maybe 50 birds are feeding, occupying the second trophic level, and on these 50 birds maybe 100 parasites are living, occupying the third trophic level. So can you see it is an inverted ecosystem? Sorry, inverted pyramid of number in case of tree ecosystem. One tree is supporting more than 50 birds. More than 50 birds are supporting more than 100 parasites. So this is inverted ecosystem, sorry, inverted pyramid of number in case of tree ecosystem. So one is tree ecosystem. Pyramid can be inverted or spindle shape. Spindle shaped as in one tree supporting more than 50 birds and 50 birds fed by 5 hawks. So this is one tree feeding 50 birds and 50 birds fed by maybe 10 hawks. So initially the pyramid is inverted, then again it becomes upright. So overall shape becomes spindle. So in case of tree ecosystem, you have to remember that the pyramid of number can be either inverted or spindle shape, and the examples over here are quoted. This much you have to do for the pyramid concept. What you have to do for pyramid concept, beta? First of all, you should know who proposed this concept. So it was proposed by Elton. This means graphical representation of different ecological parameters, mainly 3 parameters. Energy, whose graph is always, or whose pyramid is always upright, having broader base, and as you go up in the series, the thickness of the base, the thickness of the bar keeps on decreasing. So base is broad and apex become narrow. Then second is pyramid of biomass. Pyramid of biomass is also usually upright, but yes, exception prevails, like pyramid of pond ecosystem. Third is pyramid of number, where number of individuals occupying each trophic level is studied. Usually upright, exception is tree ecosystem, where it can be either inverted or spindle shape. Both the conditions over here are explained. I hope you have understood. Now, the next important segment is ecological succession. Okay, let's start then. Beta, succession means change. Predictable, gradual change which occurs in the vegetation, in the biodiversity of earth, which with the change in the environmental conditions. You know, environmental conditions does not remain same all the time. They keep on fluctuating, they keep on changing. And with the change in abiotic conditions, the biotic components also keep on changing. So the fairly gradual, predictable change which occurs in the biotic component of the area with respect to change in the abiotic component is known as ecological succession. Right? Okay, like for example, there was a jungle, correct? There was a proper jungle. But that jungle got fire. That jungle caught fire, and automatically, due to that forest fire, due to the jungle fire, entire jungle got destroyed. Now, all the trees which were there, they has to be removed. Suppose there was a huge forest fire, and for 7 days that forest fire continued. So within those 7 days, all the vegetation will get destroyed. Once the forest fire stops, then the people will go. They will cut down that burnt trees and the dead animals they will remove, and will leave the forest like that. Presently, due to forest fire, the environmental conditions over there must be very bad. You know, high amount of carbon dioxide, low amount of oxygen, very high temperature, and not at all favorable condition. But with time, समय के साथ, the environmental conditions will change. Slowly and steadily rainfall will come. which will lower down the temperature. Some small herbs and lichens and mosses will start growing again, which will consume CO2 and will release O2. So concentration of CO2 will decrease, O2 will increase. And with the change in environmental condition, the nature of the biotic component, initially there were only lichens and mosses, then now they will be replaced by some herbs, then shrubs, and then ultimately again a new forest will be established. Right? Now I may be saying in 2 minutes, but this process will take thousands of years to take place. Once a jungle is destroyed, if you want to see a new jungle on the same place, then your life is not sufficient. You need to take 5 to 6 more birth on the earth to see a full-fledged jungle once again after a forest fire, because change in the vegetation will take place gradually. Gradually means very slowly, and it is going to be predictable, and it is going to be according to the change in the environmental condition. जैसे जैसे as soon as environmental conditions will try to become favorable, the nature of the vegetation, the nature of the animals occupying that place will also keep on changing. So this, initially there was a forest fire, there was a forest, due to fire it got destroyed. Now life started from there, from zero, and from zero again a jungle got established. So all these changes is known as ecological succession. The final stage is known as jungle, which is known as the climax community. The initial stage where lichens and mosses were occupying is known as pioneer community. And between pioneer and climax, there are different transitional communities present. Understanding? Okay, so let's write. So what is ecological succession? The fairly predictable gradual changes which occur in the vegetation, simply means which occur in the biotic component of an area parallel to the changes occurring in the abiotic component. Parallel to the changes occurring in abiotic component. This is known as succession. Correct? So the fairly predictable, gradual, slow changes which occurs in the biotic component of an ecosystem with respect to the changes occurring in the abiotic component of the ecosystem is known as succession. Now, succession has to begin. Beta, succession begins from pioneer community. Zero से शुरू करेंगे, and when the conditions are highly unfavorable, then trees cannot come, right? So the first organisms to start the succession, or write it like this: the first organisms to colonize an area, the first organisms to start the succession or to colonize an area, to start the succession or colonize an area, right, are known as pioneer organisms or form pioneer community, which includes your mosses and lichens. Right? So first organisms to start the succession or colonize an area are known as pioneer community, which mainly includes mosses and lichens. Like there was a forest fire, forest got destroyed. Now again, if the new life will start, then it will not start with the trees. It will start from the pioneer community, which includes mosses and lichen. These mosses and lichen will try to gradually change the environmental condition. With the change in the environmental condition, the nature of the vegetation will also keep on changing, and ultimately the final stage of succession will arise. The final and most stable level of succession will arise at last when all the conditions are highly favorable, vegetation is also happy. That is called as climax community. The final and most stable level of succession is known as climax community, which is usually jungle. So it is always jungle. Now between pioneer and climax, all are called as transitional communities. So next an important point which we'll write is different communities between pioneer and climax are known as transitional communities. Correct? Now, pioneer, transitional plus climax. Together there is one term called series. So, pioneer plus transitional plus climax. So, different communities in the series of succession is called as series. So, term used for different communities in a succession, together they are known as series. Right? Now, depending upon the area where succession is taking place, succession can be of two types. So, depending upon the area, there can be two types of succession as hydric succession and xeric succession. Beta, when the succession starts in water, then that is known as hydric. Suppose succession start in pond or in lake, then that is called as hydric succession. And if succession start on a rock, or like in a jungle as I told you, or it starts in a desert area where water availability is very less, then that is called as xeric succession. So what is hydric succession? Succession which begins on water, where that means pioneer community will first land on water, right? So what will you write? Hydric succession, succession which begins on water, correct? And water is actually too dry area. Xeric means when succession begins on desert, means too dry area. Here you will write water means too wet, and xeric means when succession starts in too dry area. Too dry area means like on desert or barren area, or as I told you, when jungle got fire and again it got destroyed and again succession starts, then that is called as xeric succession. See, ultimately, be it xeric succession or hydric succession, their both aim is to reach the climax, which is jungle. Jungle means forest. Now this jungle is neither too dry nor too wet. So jungle is considered as mesic level of succession. So whether you begin with hydric succession, which is too wet, or you begin with xeric succession, which is too dry, the climax will come at mesic only, which is neither too dry nor too wet. This is the stable condition. Neither too dry nor too wet. This is climax for any type of succession, be it hydric or be it xeric. The climax will be your mesic only, which is jungle, and jungles are considered as neither too dry nor too wet. So these are the two types of succession which you have seen on the basis of area, whether the succession is going to start on too dry area or it is going to start on too wet area, right? Now further also beta, there can be two types of succession, that is primary succession and secondary succession. So we have one more category basically. Let me just add a page first. So basically we have one more category of succession. Little bit idea you must be having as primary succession and secondary succession. What is this primary succession? The succession which begins on a completely new area where previously no life existed. And secondary succession, the example which I was talking about, forest fire. So when succession begins on such an area where already life existed, but due to certain calamity, वो life खत्म हो गई, it got ended, it got destroyed, अब वहाँ पे फिर से life आना चाहती है. So that is called as secondary succession, right? Primary means succession on a land which is completely new, where previously no life existed. Where previously no life existed. That is known as primary succession. Secondary succession B means beta succession on a land where previously life existed, but due to certain calamities it got destroyed. अब वहां पे फिर से succession होने वाला है. This primary succession is comparatively slow and the secondary succession is comparatively faster. Like for example, area after forest fire. This is example. Area after forest fire. So on that land already life existed, but now due to forest fire life got ended and फिर से वहाँ पे succession होने वाला है. But area which is developed after volcanic eruption. Now when volcano will erupt, lava will come out. That lava will cool down to form new rock. So that area is completely new. अगर वहाँ पे succession शुरू होता है on that newly formed rock due to volcanic eruption, then it will be considered as primary succession, right? So basically this much you have to do for succession. You should know what is the definition, the different level of communities, then the two types of succession, hydric and xeric succession. Ultimately their aim is to come at mesic level, and again more two types of succession, primary and secondary. Hope you all have understood this much. So for today we are going to keep it till here. In our next class we will discuss about the concept of nutrient cycling and ecological services. A very small part of the chapter is left, which we will do in our next class, and this chapter will be over. Followed by we will start a new chapter called biodiversity and conservation. Hope you all enjoyed the simple and short lecture. Thank you for watching me. See you in the next lecture. Bye bye everyone. Take care.